So in this video, I'm going to talk about how to start an international recruitment agency. I will be doing a more detailed video with a PowerPoint presentation, probably take about half an hour to complete. But what we're going to be doing through this video is showing you the whole process, how it all works and how it can actually benefit and be a good agency to start. So I often get contacted by people that are natively overseas and they say to me, look, Cads, I want to start recruiting for the UK. We've got loads of skilled staff. There's a big demand in the UK. Let's take, for example, doctors and nurses, for example, yeah? So let's say you want to bring nurses from the Philippines and you want to recruit them into UK companies or the NHS, which we can touch on and talk about later on. What is the process? How does it all work? And how, more importantly, how do you get paid and make a profitable business? So number one is you must have candidates that you can source. They have to have certain criteria. I will list the criteria in a blog post below. So you can click the description. There'll be a blog post in there, probably in a few days or a day or two, and you can check back on that. So what the process is, you must have these examinations complete. They must be compliant. So they got an English test, IELTS or whatever it's called. The name sort of escapes me at the moment. But those tests have to be complete. They obviously need their certification, etc. And they need now a sponsored visa. But on the flip side, if you don't want to actually recruit, let's say it's the same process. You can contact nurses on LinkedIn or advertise there and say, we've got opportunities in the UK. Contact them, interview, make sure all their paperwork and compliance is done, and it'll organize from there. The other option is you can contact an agency who specialize in recruiting staff that want to work internationally. Now, there's two business models they have. One, they charge you. So they say, look, it's a couple of hundred or even 1,000, and they'll find you whatever candidates you want. Yeah. I don't know exactly what they're called, international agencies, but if you Google them, there's loads. Yeah. The other option is they charge the candidate. Sometimes they charge you and the candidate, but you want to find one that charges just you. I mean, just the candidate. So it's their process. They reach out and they connect us together, and that's what their candidate is charged. They will do all the compliance work and the checks and make sure that all their paperwork is done. So that's probably the best way to go about it. So let's say you've got one of those agencies. They will send you basically an unlimited amount of candidates. You'll have to interview and screen them. Yeah, that's your job. If you're starting an international agency, so you end up with a spreadsheet of good candidates with good skill set, and they're available to work anywhere in the UK. And the other option that you've got is, like I said, you can do your own recruitment, but you have to do your own compliance checks. Yeah. So let's say that's all done. You've got your agency, they're sending you candidates, you've got your funnel. You can still recruit yourself and do the compliance checks, etc. Now, what you've got is a timeline. So you've got about a month or 2, 3 months to actually bring the candidate over. Now you need clients. Now you've got obviously 2 ways to go about it. You can do the traditional way, cold calling, cold emailing and saying, look, we've got agencies or we've got staff, skilled, etc. All you need to do is sponsor their visa. The visa sponsorship isn't that complex, and it isn't that, how can I put it? It isn't that expensive for clients. So it can cost, I don't know, anywhere £400, £500, £600. Now, the beauty of it is, and the unique selling point of these agencies is that specific company will sponsor that specific candidate's visa. They cannot leave or go elsewhere unless they find another employer to sponsor their visa, which is unlikely to happen. There are more tests when a nurse comes to the UK, but obviously that's up to the employer to train and make sure everything's good. So how much do you charge? How much do you do? And how do you contact these clients? So the pricing is up to you, yeah? The pricing doesn't have to be 10%, 15%. Some agencies do $1,000 flat fee. Some agencies charge even more, but there is volume there. There are people that are coming in. So it's not difficult to find the candidates, even specifically skilled candidates. Like you can probably find software developers, etc., to actually bring to the UK. And when I say bring, who want to come here and actually work and study, etc. So you've got that option. With the client side, there is an approved list of companies that already sponsor visas. That could specifically, if you target companies in a specific area, yeah, and I'll put the list in the blog post below, you can go on that and you can find these companies that just want staff. They want you to facilitate the process in recruitment, and they've already got visa sponsorship. They'll just say, yeah, we can sponsor that visa, etc. The same process. This is a different type of business, However, it's very much the same. You have the client, you have the candidate, you link them together. The employer usually pays or the flight costs and the travel costs. However, sometimes the candidate pays or the agency pays and then they're reimbursed. Or you, I would avoid you as an agency getting involved in any of that, especially on the permanent side. So how much can you specifically make is depending on how good your clients are at managing the whole process. So if they say, look, as soon as they come, they can start work and they can start. So they'll start as a nurse, they'll come as like a care assistant, and they're highly skilled, don't forget. And this is what the UK needs. This is something that I looked into a while back, and it just didn't make business sense for me to specifically do it, but it works for a lot of people. And I'm making this video because I've coached quite a few people that have started, and one of the first one I done research with the person. I was like, look, honestly, I don't know, I've never done it, I've looked into it, but we actually done it, and they've got successful businesses. One's from Jamaica, bringing staff nurses from Jamaica. It's mainly in healthcare. A couple in America that are bringing over, some in the UK, but it's Pakistan, India, doctors from India, a lot of nurses from the Philippines. These are staff that want to come over and they're highly skilled, and there's often compliments. And the two problems that it fixes is the major skill shortage. Yeah. And this is why this business is beautiful. The major skill shortage, as in nurses, doctors, also the attrition rate isn't there. So the candidates aren't leaving as much. They aren't going elsewhere because they do and don't have the freedom. They have to find an employer to sponsor. But that's a unique selling point that you can tell to candidates. Of course, you only want to work with good companies. Yeah. Once you work with a couple in the private sector, you can move into NHS, international recruitment. That is more lucrative. More people want to come over because NHS has that brand, that training, etc. So there was a tender. I think Oxfordshire County Council had a contract, and it was £5 million to bring only international staff, and they gave it to quite a few agencies. I was tempted to apply, and that's why I was looking at applying, setting up the agency internationally. But what happens is there's a £5 million budget for recruitment spend in a year, and that's spread out between quite a few agencies. Actually, I think it's like 26 or 30 or something like that, and that spend gets spent. That has to be spent, otherwise they won't give a budget next year, or they give a lower amount. So they have to spend that amount. So even if you got a 10% of that, would be pretty good on an international scale. So that comes later. That comes when you're established. But if you build funnels, you only need a couple of clients. Yeah. Think of a major care home. They need a nurse at every care home. I've got clients with 450, 72 care homes. There's a big demand. A couple of clients will do that. And the thing is, when I approached clients and I had a conversation, I said, look, I'm starting international recruitment. I can't fill these positions domestically. Maybe we can look at that. That's something you can also pitch to your existing clients. And what it came of is most of the clients were like, yeah, we can. We'll be interested. We'd like to see the candidates and interview. And most of them were up for it. And they're like, yeah, we can't take enough. And I had a conversation with one of the hospital directors in the NHS a while back. And I said to him, look, I was doing a bit of market research. I said, look, can I have some of your time? I know him well. And he said, look, Cads, if you bring me 10 nurses per month, you won't even touch the gap of staff I need. So that's a hospital director saying that to me. And he's obviously in the private sector. And the private sector pays and looks after their candidates a bit better. So the NHS must be struggling. So even if I brought him 10 nurses, he's basically saying, you can't fill the gap. He needs more. So there is a demand there. Obviously, the benefits of this, an international recruitment agency, would be you don't have how can I put it? You don't have the issue of the candidates not being there. There's candidates. There's volume in the market in terms of CVs, interviewing. Quality of candidates, that's obviously up to you to decide when you interview. But the struggle will be the education side on the clients. How does it work? You have to know the process inside and out, because if you recruit in the UK, I mean, this is a no-brainer. You might have a notice period of 1 to 2 months. Yeah. If a client says, oh, I don't want to wait 2-3 months, well, you're going to have to, because most candidates have notice periods and they want a few weeks to take a little break. Whereas an international candidate can start work as soon as they arrive and the visa application goes through. So if you've got any questions, please let me know. I do know some lawyers who do, visa applications. So I'm happy to put you in touch with those. If you've got any questions, let me know as always.